What up, reader fam? Today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts, opinions, and feels on Wayfarer by Alexander Bracken. This video is being sponsored by Disney Hyperion, but know that all my thoughts, opinions, and feels are my own. Wayfarer is the second and final book in the Passenger duology, and let me tell you, Wayfarer is one heck of a finale. Since Wayfarer is the sequel to Passenger, I'm not going to tell you what Wayfarer is about because I don't want to spoil you, but I will tell you a little bit about what Passenger is all about. Essentially, Passenger is the story of this girl named Etta, who is a violin prodigy living in New York with her mother. And one night during one of her violin performances, she's thrust into this world full of time travel. She soon finds out that her mother forgot to mention to her that she's a time traveler. Along with her mother being a time traveler, there's also an object that is being hunted. And it's believed that Etta knows the location of this item. Except that's not the case at all. Etta has no idea where this item is. But her not knowing where this object is does not prevent her from being hunted. So that's kind of a brief idea as to what this story is all about. I'm now going to give you a little spoiler-free snippet on all my thoughts on Wayfarer, and then I will be jumping into a spoiler section discussing all my thoughts on this book. I was overly impressed with how this story was brought to a close. Alexander Bracken just did a fantastic job of just bringing so many things together in this finale. I feel like Alexander Bracken just gave her all with this finale, and it shows because it was epic. Something that I loved about the sequel is that there wasn't so much a focus on the romance. It's still present throughout the story, but it's not as big as a player as it was compared to the first book. As for everything else that this story has going for it, I feel like everything was just completely heightened. The action scenes were even more intense. The shock factor was upped. And there was just so much more character growth throughout this finale. The one complaint that I had about this story was that it was a little on the slower side when it came to the pacing at times. I wish some things would have moved at a faster pace, but honestly, that's just more of a reader preference. In general, I found it to be an epic conclusion, and I am overly satisfied with this sequel. So those are all my non-spoilery thoughts on Wayfarer by Alexander Bracken. I'm now going to be jumping into a spoiler-filled discussion, so if you have not read Wayfarer, go out and read Wayfarer. If you haven't read Passenger, then read Passenger, then read Wayfarer, and then come back and discuss with me all your thoughts, opinions, and feels on Wayfarer. I really enjoyed the opening prologue in this book. We see Rose at a young age, and I feel like it gives us more of a background on her, and it gives us insight on the Ironwoods and the effect they had on Rose's family. And it was just really nice seeing that because we don't really know that much about Rose's past. So after our little prologue, we meet up with Etta. The way that I'm going to discuss the book today is that I'm going to talk about Etta's sections, and then I'm going to talk about Nicholas's sections. So again, we meet up with Etta, and it's nice to know that she didn't disappear into thin air. She's alive and well, more so in pain than well, but she's still alive, and that's a good thing. But she's in pain for a good reason because she got flippin' shot. I was losing my mind when she was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna climb out the window and crawl down the side of the house. It's gonna be fine. I'm just like, Etta, let's back it up here. You got shot in the arm. You're not gonna make it alive if you try climbing down that house, okay? I mean, if I were in Etta's position and I decided to start climbing down this wall with my freaking arm that's been shot, I would have been dying and crying and dying and crying and so on and so forth. I like actually felt her pain when I was reading that section of the book. I was cringing hardcore. So this guy grabs her and flings her into the window after she nearly falls to her death, and he's claiming to be a Thorn when he's pretty much got every trait of an Ironwood, and that's when we find out that it's Julian Ironwood, which I will be honest, I had forgotten all about Julian Ironwood. Up until this point, I was like, wait, Julian? Oh, Julian! Julian, the guy from the first book that disappeared just like Etta disappeared. Thinking back on book 1 though, I kind of thought that we would eventually see him. I love how Etta just builds up so much frustration with Julian that she just punches him. You better not mess with Etta, cause she will punch you. So then, we've got this Henry Hemlock guy coming out of nowhere just being like, yo Etta, I'm your daddy. I'm just like, what? I was shook. That had me like, I'll admit that I found it really hard to trust him at first because he was just really charming in every way that he approached everything that he was talking about. And sometimes you can't trust those charming people. But it was also hard to trust him just because of the way that he was talking about Rose and just kind of blaming everything on her. Obviously, I did grow to like him throughout the story and I really enjoyed his character. It just took me some time. One of my favorite moments throughout this book, which let's be honest, I have so many favorite moments because there were so many beautiful moments throughout this story, but one of my favorites was when Etta and Henry got to play music together. She's on the violin, he's on the piano, and it was just a beautiful scene. Having them be apart for so long and then coming together and just making beautiful music together, it just mess with my feels. So we have the Zara dinner and the attack, and Etta ends up being protected by Henry, which was also just another sweet moment. Another really sweet moment that I just thought about was when Julian said goodbye to his grandmother. That one just really messed with me emotionally. It was actually really hard for me to read because my grandmother passed away recently, so I was just like, too soon, too soon. Those are feelings that are still a little bit too fresh. So they end up finding out that the Belladonna has the astrolabe, which, trust me, I will talk more about the Belladonna in a bit, but I think now might be a good time to switch over to talking about Nicholas's perspective and all the things that him and Sophia went through, because holy crap, they went through a lot. I really kind of like the fact that Sophia and Nicholas teamed up throughout this story. I just really liked the energy between the two of them. From Sophia's constant snark to Nicholas's determination, they just made a really interesting duo. So they get this letter from Rose, and of course it gets stolen, and once they get back to their campsite, the person who stole the letter is just chilling there. And we find out it's this person named Li Min. And how do we feel about her, guys? I feel like I have such conflicting feelings about Li Min. On one hand, I really liked her, but on the other hand, she did some really inexcusable things throughout this story. So in exchange for the letter, Lin wants a kiss. And of course, Nicholas assumes that she wants one from him, but plot twist, she wants one from Sophia. It was really interesting learning about Sophia's sexuality throughout the story and how she preferred women, and just how she began to open up about it throughout this book. I loved how during this whole journey that Etta had one of her earrings and then Nicholas had the other one. Sometimes it's just the little things that just make you so happy. So Sophia and Nicholas end up meeting with the Belladonna, who is right off the bat shady. The whole time I'm basically just like shouting on my book, run away, run away, run away! This is not going to be good. And sure enough, it ends up not being good. Nicholas ends up finding himself making a deal with her, and now he's gotta kill Cyrus Ironwood or he's gonna die. I feel like Sophia and Nicholas just had the toughest journey throughout this book. They were just in a constant state of trickery. Like when they meet up with Remus and try to get information from him, and they end up finding out that it's a scam, and that he's working with Cyrus, and then Sophia gets freaking poisoned. There was just so much going on. I was just like, can we just take a second to breathe, please? Because I need to breathe over here. I loved how even though Sophia was dying, she was still just like stubborn as ever. So Li Min comes back and she heals Sophia, and this is again why I have conflicting feelings about her, because on one hand, she helps them out, and on the other hand, she screws them over and she lies to them. She tells them things like, oh yeah, Etta's dead. No, she's not, you liar, liar, pants on fire. When Nicholas basically sacrifices himself saying he had the astrolabe to the shadows, I was like, hold up, excuse me bro, what you doing? Even though the Deathlike Shadow didn't end up believing him, I was honestly surprised that the Ancient One let Nicholas go. In fact, I kind of found that whole thing kind of confusing. The scene where Nicholas goes to kill Cyrus drove me crazy. My Kratar is on and the alarm for this is cray cray is going off. I just wanted him to stab and run, stab and run, stab and run. You had one job, Nicholas, one job. Yet you prolonged it and let him manipulate you. Etta and Nicholas end up being reunited, which made me super happy. Though I will say, like I said in the non-spoiler section of this video, I did like that their romance wasn't the main focus of the story. They did have moments where they were thinking about each other, but it wasn't as intense as the first book. Like I feel like the first book was just like so intense and so heavy on the romance that at times I was just like, can we chill? And it was nice to kind of have a break from that with this book. I died when Sophia came up behind Owen and slammed a rock against his head. I was just like, the slayage that has taken place here is unreal. So then we have this whole auction ordeal, and of course it turns into WackyCon 2017 or whatever time period it was taking place during, I can't remember. Everybody wants that astrolabe. Etta and Cyrus face off, Rose's throat gets clawed, and Nicholas stabs the astrolabe. And just so much happens all at once, and then we end up in present day New York. And we're with Etta, and it's just really sad because she basically has no one, and she gets really excited at the thought that maybe Rose is still alive, and she runs over to Rose's house, and we find out that Rose is not alive, but she's left this letter for her, and that letter was sweeter than apple pie. I just realized I kept saying Rose when I meant to say Alice. Apologies. So then we have this concert that Etta's playing at, and she's playing, she's going at it with the violin, and she looks into the audience, and she sees her freaking mother, Rose, and then she sees Henry, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? I'm so emo right now, I can't. And of course, our main boo Nicholas shows up. What up, boo? Honestly though, how did Etta keep playing during that concert? I would have been like, got a blast, and I would have bolted to my parents, and I would have bawled my freaking eyes out. Then we get this epilogue, and it's similar to the prologue in which we see Rose at a young age, and we see her learning about the astrolabe, and it honestly makes sense as to why she wanted to obtain it. Who wouldn't chase after an object that could possibly reunite you with people you loved who had passed on? Who can blame her? So those are all my thoughts, opinions, and feels on Wayfarer by Alexander Bracken. Honestly, discussing this book with you guys just made me realize how much I did really enjoy this book. It was so freaking good. You guys should let me know down below all your thoughts, opinions, and feels on this book. What was your favorite moment throughout the story? What was your least favorite moment throughout the story? I just want to hear from you guys. What did you think of Wayfarer? Also, if you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I post videos frequently on this channel, so if you want to be notified for when I post new videos, be sure to go and click subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, chew.